Hey, how you doing? If you're new here, hi, my name is Chris. This is my shop. What I have for you today is a little different. And what I mean by different, I mean different for me. Let me explain to you. Let me bring the camera in and I'm going to show you what I've assembled here today, all right? These are a pair of pen blanks. One of them is curly maple. The other is ebony. I'm going to turn two pens with these today, but don't worry about it. I'm not going to be doing a pen turning video today. There are other people more qualified to do that than me. But what I wanted to see was, after I turned two pens with this wood, could I save the sawdust from the ebony and the sawdust from the maple to turn another pen out of what was left over so that the wood wasn't wasted? And in order for me to do that, let me bring in these other characters. This is a pen mold, a resin mold that I purchased from Lizard Blanks. I'll leave a link to where I got this down below. And this is the resin I'll be using today too. So what I want to do is take the sawdust from these two pens that eventually will happen and see if I can mix them up with the resin and put them in this mold. And then turn a second ebony pen and a second maple pen. And for that, obviously, I have 4 pen kits. So it's a matter of, can you make 4 pens out of 2 pen blanks? We'll find out coming up next. All right, well, I managed to get the 2 pens turned, and I'll show you those later when we're done with these. But I want to talk to you real quick about this resin that I'm going to be using. This is a resin called Liquid Diamonds, and I got this on the recommendation of somebody else because basically it's supposed to dry clear and bubble free, which is a good thing since I don't have a pressure pot. But it's, you mix this resin up in a 2-to-1 ratio, which is why I have these cups pre-marked. I'm only going to be using about 3 ounces, I think is all I'm going to need to make this pen blank today. So I've got 1 ounce level here on this cup to use for the hardener, and then I've got 2 ounces more for the resin, total of 3 ounces to make this. But let's talk about costs here real quick, if we could. This cost me about $35. This is 24 ounces for 35 bucks. So basically I can get 8 pens out of this. And that roughly comes out to, what is it, $4.38 per pen blank, which isn't exactly a cheap pen blank. But when you look at it in comparison, the ebony pen blank, this is a Gabon ebony pen blank that I use, and that's what these shavings are from. That was $6. And you can probably get a curly maple pen blank for like $2.50. So, you know, the $4.38 compared to $6, you're saving a little bit of money. To this, you're spending more. So, but the end result is all that really matters. So I tell you what I'm going to do. Let me get this resin mixed up. I'll bring the camera in. We'll add the sawdust. I think I'm going to start with the maple, and then we'll do the ebony later. And then we'll pour it in here, and we'll end up seeing what it looks like. I have a funny feeling this is going to come out looking like masonite, but you never know. So let's give it a pour and see where we go from there. Hold on, let me get in a different position here. There we go, into the mold. All right, we're going to let that level out. And the directions say this is going to take 24 hours to cure. So we'll come back tomorrow and see what we got. All right, as you can obviously see, I got the pens turned, and so I guess the question of whether it is possible to take 2 pen blanks and turn them into 4 using a resin casting, the answer is yes, and I think most of you probably already knew that. But the results are what matter. So I'll pull the camera in and let you guys get a close-up of what these look like here in a second. But I can tell you that I ran into some problems with the resin, and that's partly because this is the first time I've ever tried to turn cast resin, and it's also, I think, a problem with the fact that I didn't have a pressure pot, because even though this resin is bubble free, when you start putting wood inside and turning it, you end up trapping air bubbles. And if I had used like a colored dye or something inside this instead of the wood, wouldn't have had a problem. But because I'd used the wood shavings, it ended up trapping some bubbles in the finish, or the finished casting anyway. And so I ran into some problems turning this that way. But I would say that if I had a pressure pot or something along those lines, I probably could have avoided that. So I'm going to give this a 50-50. The issues that the resin pens that I have is partly because this is the first time I've ever done it, so user. Second is I didn't have the right tools in order to get this done correctly, which would mean that I'm talking about the pressure pot. But let me bring the camera in, let you guys take a look at this, and then I'll let you tell me what you think. I don't know if you can tell, and you probably can, but just in case you can't, this was the curly maple one that's made out of wood. This was the ebony made out of wood. The two in the middle are the ones made out of resin. The problem I ran into is that because of the air bubbles, a lot of the finishing process, it traps some particles here. And to be quite honest with you, when I said earlier that this one I thought was going to turn out looking like masonite, it pretty much did. If you could find what maple masonite looks like, this is what that looks like. And whether it's cool or not, I don't know. Do I like it? No, not really. I don't really like that. But I can say that the ebony one, I believe because of the color of the wood, came out much better. But it still has the pits because of the bubbles that were revealed when I turned it. So this, I think, is viable. This, I think, is a matter of whether you like this or not. As already said, I'm not so sure I'd like that at all. But, it is what it is. It's the first time I've done this. I think that if, I had been more proficient at doing something along these lines, this may have turned out better. But, the answer to the question is yes, you can use your sawdust to increase your volume of your wood anyway, as opposed to going out and buying a colorant. But I think it's real important that if you're going to do this, you need a pressure pot to make sure that those bubbles don't occur within inside your castings. I am by no means an expert at resin casting. Like I said, this is the first time I've tried this, but it's possible. So there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Take care. Get out in your shops. Go make that first cut, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.